いただけますか。
ほう。
意見ってそんないきなり。ぜひお願いします、ミス・ヤング。はい。楽しんでるこの状況。こうなったらやけだわ。ではまず新たなソフトウェアを取り入れた場合のリスクをお話しします。
What's going on, my friends? We're here today to talk about this week's episode of Let's Play. This was episode number 7, and I'm really happy to report that this episode was really good. So, if you've been following my videos, I have been hot and cold on the anime. It's done some good, it's done some bad, it's kind of been in the middle, it's been a little bit boring, at times it's been funny. The romantic kind of relationships are a little muddied, right? Like, at this point, we don't really kind of know like who is our main lead. When it comes to our main male lead, they all three of the dudes in this show kind of have an equal part when it comes to kind of vying for Sam's potential love. And they all do something drastically different. Link comes to her kind of like as like the protector, like the big lion guy, the guy who's gonna kind of protect her as she kind of gets warms and fuzzies from it. Marshall, who's the streamer guy, she kind of has like a hate-love relationship with him to where like the way that he reviewed her game and the time that they spent together and, it's a weird relationship, but there is definitely chemistry there, even though he has a girlfriend in Monica, who's the other streamer and stuff. That's a whole nother ordeal. Then you have Charles, who's kind of like her mentor, her guide, somebody who's kind of like looking out for her from like the top down and making sure that like he understands what her wants are, but he understands that there's a need that kind of supersedes maybe a little bit of her wants, because at the end of the day, she is the daughter of this huge company owner, and she is kind of like the heir to this business, and he understands that maybe that's not what she wants, but he wants to make sure that, that is at least an option for her. So once again, this week, I think Charles once again won the week for me when it comes to just best boy, best man, whatever, because he took a lot of different steps. He was able to promote, you're promoted. He was able to promote her to his assistant. And what that allowed him to do, right, is let her know, like, you're not going to be getting me coffee. You're not going to be doing my dry cleaning. Like, no. You're going to be attending meetings with me. At times, you're going to be speaking on different initiatives that we have at the company. You're going to be talking about how you view things as a software developer, kind of the nitty gritty and kind of more plugged in with some of our employees. You're going to be talking and working on different projects with different teams. So he's basically kind of like, he promoted her to his assistant, but kind of like junior CEO essentially. Considering all the different responsibilities that she's going to have. And what's really cool about that is at the end of the episode, or kind of like the middle of the episode, he had her attend a really important meeting with like some investors and some people who are using their company to develop software. And she was able to, really just, because she was trying to get home to go play basically World of Warcraft essentially with her friends, she bugged up and she was able to speak really well. And she was able to really impress Charles. And then the last thing that I kind of say on it too is, Marshall has been kind of pushing the agenda to kind of get to know her better. One of the things that he did was he reached out to all the folks at the cafe that Sam frequents. And, he kind of talked about like, he's really worried about replaying the game because he doesn't want to hurt Sam's feelings, because his main worry is like, what if he plays the game and he still doesn't like it? He doesn't want to hurt her in that way. And basically all the friends are like, don't worry about it kind of thing. But because he was so worried, they invited him to, come and, be part of their, not be part of their guild, but come and, do some missions with them. And eventually it showed off a different side of Sam that he's never seen before. Because she's I guess they call her like the DPS, basically. She's like the damage dealer in the party and stuff. So you got to see a different side of her, which I thought was really cool too. Last couple of things I'll say is the relationship between Marshall and his girlfriend Monica have been getting a little interesting there. And then Angela, which is the red hair girl, kind of got a little flustered when it came to Link this episode as well too. So there is a avenue to where, Monica could be reviewed for Marshall, and that could be Sam's thing. You know, you have this Angela and Link stuff. Of course, Link's really all about Sam, but you know, there you never know, right? You never know what sparks could fly, especially because he has that protector in him, right? I think as most men do, you kind of like to be when you're viewed in that way, you kind of feel really valued, right? You kind of puff your chest out a little bit. So love could really brew from that, you know, because that's a feeling that most men really cherish. And then from Charles, right, he's just doing all the right things. Like that man, he kind of reminds me of Barney from How I Met Your Mother, if you guys ever seen that, but more suave, you know, in a way. And I think, again, once again, I think he's the best character. So anyways, this week's episode I thought was really good. I thought it came from a lot of different angles, and I just really enjoyed watching this week's episode. And I was like, whew, thank gosh, too, because like it's been a little rough. So I was really happy to see that this ended up being a good episode. All right, friends, I'm going to see you guys next week for episode number 8. Have a good one.